Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's podcast. So I hope you like the one on competition mentality. I hope it gave you a bit of an idea of kind of what goes through the mind when you decide to take on something competitively in the sense that it becomes a little bit more about you just enjoying the process. There is an outcome that you're after, or there are potentially people you are responsible for, beholden to, either way. It's one of those things. But I hope you enjoyed it, and it was a good insight into what's going on. So today, I'm trying to explain something that I think it needs to be explained better. I've been formulating how to say this. It was going to be a couple of podcasts ago, but I just wanted to make sure I really kind of had it down. And it's kind of been confirmed by conversations I've had with clients down the line. And when it comes to weight loss itself, there is in fact a hierarchy of things that need to be in place before you can get to weight loss. And the trouble is we skip the hierarchy, or try to ignore the hierarchy, or try to kind of downplay its importance in the hopes that we can just skip to the weight loss part. Because weight loss may be what's making us feel unhappy, it may be what's making us unhealthy, it may be what is leading to other problems, and we want that gone. Especially if you're further down the misery tract, as it were, where you are very desperate to get out of this hole. It's causing you lots of trouble, your body isn't feeling the way it should, and you just want to find a solution quick. So you instantly go to weight loss because apparently it's the easiest thing in the world. And in theory, yes, it is. To lose weight, you just create an energy deficit. That's it. It is all about burning more than you consume. Now, yes, that is simple. Yes, the maths is very basic. But if the further up the hierarchy in that chain is not correct, it then also becomes very difficult. So, the hierarchy itself as it stands, the first thing that has to be well for this to be an easy process is your mental health. It has to be. I'll explain why in a minute. The second thing that has to be sorted and in place is your stress levels. The third thing is making sure you're not carrying any physical injuries and your physical health is generally pretty good. The last thing is weight loss. Weight loss is last. You can't skip the others and jump straight to weight loss because it won't happen. Especially if you want it quick. Over a long period of time, maybe you can do, and it takes a lot of understanding and a lot of being easy on yourself if you're finding other stuff hard. But unless you are dealing with those other hierarchical parts, it's not going to work. So we'll work back on ourselves from weight loss. So we'll start with physical health. If you are of poor or debilitated physical health, so you're either, for instance, morbidly obese to the point where mobility in itself is very difficult, you are very inactive in your work, in your day-to-day, so your overall stamina is incredibly poor, you are carrying an injury, short-term or long-term, you are suffering from pain, chronic or due to inflammatory responses, these will hamper one side of your energy equation. So if you are unable to move more, or maybe more than you already are, you then have to really focus on eating less. And that in itself isn't always easy, because how much less do you eat? If you're not, and it can come to a point where people generally are not eating that much and they're still overweight, and everybody seems to think, oh, well, that's got to be a lie. Personal trainers included. Personal trainers love to turn around and say that, you must be lying and you're still eating too much. But there is, in prolonged periods, something that It's called metabolic adaptation. Now, for most people, it's not the case, but I have to say that it does. It's something that exists. If you've yo-yo dieted a lot and you've crashed and you've gained and you've crashed and you've gained, you are wreaking havoc with your body's ability to both store and burn calories. If you're very inactive, you do require to be in a calorie deficit. How far do you go? The trouble is, fat in itself is stored energy, so you can, in fact, eat very little and run off your body fat. That's exactly what it's designed for. But we are humans and we do like food. We are timed by food. We plan our day around food. We are driven to consume food to make ourselves feel better or social events. And, it's a very thing that we've had. I've done a podcast on that saying, why is food so important? So that'll explain a bit more. So if your physical health is inhibiting your ability to move, that's the first thing you have to fix. Well, that is something you have. It's not the first thing you have to fix. It's something that you have to fix, because if you can't move very well, you have to figure out how you're going to increase your movement somehow through whatever means, because that is a big part of the energy balance equation. You do have to expend energy less than what you consume to start burning body fat. So if you're in ill physical health, and it's usually due to weight as well, or injury or sickness, you have to get that on track before weight loss can happen, because it's just going to make it infinitely difficult. How little can one person eat in a day? Next is stress. If you are incredibly stressed out, you are probably not going to make very good decisions. B, not going to be able to recover from exercise very well, which then could lead to physical injury. And your body is going to be riddled with cortisol, which doesn't do it any good in the long term. We can manipulate cortisol in small bouts to increase muscle mass, learn new movements, avoid danger, etc., etc. But if it's something we're in a permanent state of due to stress, it will really make progress very difficult. You are not going to be more likely to meal prep. You are not going to be likely to make good choices in food. You are not going to be able to recover from a workout. You may actually not be able to work out at all because you're too stressed. It makes you want to sit down and be inactive because you feel the need to calm yourself down, etc., etc. So stress levels themselves will always play a part in the weight loss journey. You can't be super duper stressed out and add more stress to your body. Just don't do it. I've pulled lifters and clients away from exercise because it's the only stress I can control and they're already bubbling over. So it is something that has to be dealt with. The final one is mental health. If your mental health is not being at least addressed alongside your physical health, you are in for a bad time. Now, I actually work with a lot of people that have various mental health issues. Some are more severe than others. Some are more volatile than others. It makes a huge impact on whether you make decisions or not. It really does. And the trouble is that depending on what's causing the poor mental health, it can be stress, it can be physical injury, it can be other underlying issues, it can be family stress, it could be work stress, it could be those influences coming back and forth which are giving you poor mental health. You are far less likely to stick to a plan. You are less likely to feel motivated to do anything. You are then more likely to become stressed. You are more likely to have physical issues and physical health decline because your mental health and physical health are intrinsically linked. They are not separate. So if all of these things are in disarray, it's very difficult to see how weight loss is going to happen. Now, the trouble is what we see is people maybe in the same situation as you. They may be stressed. They may have a physical injury, but their headspace is very clear. So athletes are a great example. You see an athlete get an injury and they're straight into rehab, they're straight into rebuilding, but that's because their mindset is built around that. Now, is it necessarily healthy? Maybe, maybe not. But it is something that helps drive them forward because they have a clear understanding of what they want to do. So their head is clear at least. Their mental state is, I have to do this to get better. So they see it as a means of medicine and therapy. If you are stressed, maybe have a physical injury outside of an athletic perspective, but you are determined to get better and your head is actually generally in a good space, then you will still get around these things. Which is why I said mental health is the number one in the hierarchy, because if that's not right, the others will just compound on top of it. You can overcome a stressful situation if you have a good mental space and you can, deal with your stress well and decide whether it's something to be worrying about now, something you can worry about later. Can I offload this to somebody else, etc., etc. Physical injury, as long as you're careful and your head's in a good space, you can progress and you can make changes. I have clients that are injured and we are working on recovery and they've still managed to lose weight. Has it been difficult? Yes, because physical injury does lead to poor mental health state. Again, the injury itself will essentially get better, but if the mental health side of things isn't being looked after alongside of it, it will spiral out of control. And then it doesn't become the injury anymore, it becomes the headspace that the injury has caused, and the headspace takes over. So this is why you will see people overcoming things, and you think, well, hang on a minute, they've said that they have what I have. They may have had depression, they may have had anxiety, they may have had, up early, insert issue here. But because they have come to this point after being in a dark place where they can push and build and realize that this is their way out, they have actually improved their mental state to accommodate this new stress coming on. We don't teach people enough in general, or as trainers, on this hierarchy. Most trainers are taught to focus on the energy balance. And that's fine, because that is essentially what trainers are. Energy balance facilitators. How can we get you in an energy balance or an energy deficit? How can we, if you need to gain weight, how do we need to gain weight? I have clients that need to gain weight. I have clients that need to lose weight. I have clients that are competitive. I have clients that just enjoy moving around and exercise and want to be pushed. It's when you come across those people that want to lose weight, find it very hard to stay motivated because of a poor mental space, that this is then where we have to start really being a bit more open and honest with ourselves, and as an industry being open and honest and saying, look, you aren't going to lose weight if your head's not in the right place. Because when your head's not in the right place and you are suffering from mental health issues, or your mental health isn't completely right, a small amount of stress completely derails you, which is why I said stress is second, it's not first. If you have poor mental health, you suffer from mental health issues, you are quite volatile, things knock you off your perch quite easily, which is fine if you are one of those people. You're not a bad person. This is just something that needs to be considered when working with the trainer. You have everything planned out. You've prepped your meal when you're feeling good. You're about to come home. Boss acts like an asshole. A friend cancels a plan. Somebody's wound you up. Insert anything that could cause any small amount of stress. Because your mental state's not great, because that stress may only be minor, but it becomes massively amplified once you're in this space, you make bad choices. Everybody does. When we're stressed, we go for something that's going to solve the problem now. I'm stressed. I don't have time to do this. I'm going to go buy that. I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go see that person. Insert thing that in the short term may solve an issue, but in the long term is going to make you feel worse. Let's look at weight loss. You're having a good time. You're stressed out at work. You go and grab a Burger King. It happens all the time. It really does happen all the time. And is that something to chide somebody about? No. Do you need to bring it up and say, look, once again, this pattern is emerging where you get stressed and you go straight to food. We need to really see what's going on with that. Yeah, you need to deal with that. But at the same time, unless you are qualified in mental health, it's very difficult to come across because people may not want to talk to you about it like that. They may not know you in a therapeutic capacity, just as a personal training capacity. So you may have to ask them to go and see somebody and say, look, you need to go and have your stress. The gym is a great stress reliever. Yes, of course it is. Yes, we've all had that mantra rammed down our throats over the COVID lockdown because we know it is true. Yes, you can relieve stress and deal with your mental health in the gym. But you need more than that sometimes, because if you can't get to the gym to help your mental health because your mental health's so bad, the gym now becomes superfluous. It doesn't mean anything. So you, as general population, listener, you need to be aware that if you are making poor choices in regards to your weight loss journey, you have to check the rest of the hierarchy first. You can't just keep doing this to yourself where you go off and you have a bad meal or you binge or you starve yourself, because that doesn't work, because you can go starve binge, you can be, bulimic, anorexic, you can just binge eat and not purge, you can, insert any condition where you're using food as a comfort or a control. That has to be addressed before you can get the results you want. Because if you're trying to gain weight and get stronger and build muscle, you have to deal with the fact that you may at some point have to still eat even if you don't feel in control. If you are a stress eater, and I don't mean a stress eater in that you go and grab a chocolate bar when you're stressed, I mean you go and binge eat on the way home, you stop off at the shop and you buy lots of stuff because it's comfort and it makes you feel better about yourself. It needs to be addressed first, or at least highlighted, before you really consider pushing forward for weight loss. Because otherwise you're going to be in a vicious cycle. You will watch your weight come down, then you'll stall, you'll go back up, you'll come down, and you'll yo-yo between this point. Because there's always an initial weight loss when you start exercising regardless, because there is an adaptation. Your body will start utilizing a little bit of fuel better, especially if you keep your calories about the same and increase your exercise, you're going to lose some weight. It's just one of those things. That is science. But you stall relatively, it could be quickly, but you will stall, because if you're not beating those eating habits and staying on track and finding yourself sort of sudden you're yo-yoing, that's either because and when I say yo-yoing, I don't mean like a small fluctuation, like you've plateaued off, okay, we need to decide what we're going to do versus stimulus versus weight loss. It's if you're spiking a couple of kilos, dropping a couple of kilos, spiking a couple of kilos, dropping a couple of kilos quite regularly, that's because you're finding, pushing any further than this, your body's not really ready for it. You need to figure that out. And that's where it gets frustrating. It can be frustrating for trainers. It can be frustrating for clients. Hopefully you're not blaming each other. Hopefully you're coming out for a solution. That's not to say that as a trainer, I don't expect to get any shit from clients. They're in a bad headspace, and I will at some point down the line have to say, look, it's because once again you have not tried your hardest. And no, that's a very crap case of words. That's what normally said. Once again, you have gone over your calorie deficit. I understand why, but if you want to lose weight, you have to kind of be stronger than your urge to binge. You are going to get shit back. You are going to get shit back. If there's any PTs or any friends or family listening to this, you can't just tell somebody who's in a bad headspace about their weight or in a bad space in general and trying to lose weight that, well, you just need to try harder. Well, once again, you've come out of your deficit. They know that. They do know that. Or, more importantly, you can't say it and not expect shit for it. Like, you may be right, and you may well be right. Hopefully you deliver it in a way they understand. Hopefully they don't give you too much backlash, but there's always the chance they would. There's always a chance they're going to go absolutely crazy, loopy at you and just go, fuck off. You don't know what it's like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, maybe I don't. I personally do. I've been there. I have literally been there. But a lot of people may not. And it's just, you've got to allow that anger to come out, because they know at that moment they shouldn't have done what they did, but they don't know how to stop it. But that's because other factors are coming in. If you look at injury, if you are injured, you have to address the injury before you start adding more exercise in, and depending on your nutrition, may aid in your recovery. If you're eating crap, trying to lose weight with an injury, your injury has to get better before you can really apply yourself to sort out your exercise levels. Because if you're injured or you're at a high risk of injury, you do have to be careful. Sometimes it may not even be the fact that you're injured, you're just at such a high risk of injury, your exercise has to be very, very tailored and very careful. So food has to play a massive part in it. But if we look at food as medicine as much as it is a cure for loneliness, unhappiness, nourishment, sustenance, whatever. If you see it as a medicine as well, if you're not looking after your injury, your chances of losing weight are probably slim anyway. So sometimes it's something that can be done quite easily. You go to doctors, you get a scan done, you deal with it. If it's more chronic, or you're, in some cases with clients, they're having to drag their feet because the powers that be aren't moving quick enough, or they're not trying their best to move things along. You have to manage your pain somehow. And sometimes food is the way you manage your pain. You eat something because you just want to feel better. You don't want to take pills and potions, but food you can get away with. That's fine. But if that's your outlet, you have to let go a little bit of the theory that weight loss is your number one priority, because it cannot be. And that's where a lot of people fall short. That's where a lot of people find themselves questioning if they actually want to lose weight, or say that they're not working hard enough, say that they're not doing as much as they could. And it actually may be that you really are doing all you can, but that other parts of the hierarchy are just not intact enough and are not in a good place enough that you can actually do anything with it. Because weight loss can't be your number one priority if you don't have good mental health, if your stress levels are too high, or you're carrying an injury. They have to become the priority. The trouble is, for a lot of people, dealing with your mental health is painful. Sucks. You have to dig up a lot of crap you don't want to have to deal with. You may have to realise that people that you thought were supportive aren't, and people that you didn't think were supportive are, and that you have to change your narrative, and that's a lot of mental work. It requires a lot of energy. But you think losing weight is going to make you happier. You think losing weight will make people more accepting of you. Which, by the way, is something that everybody loves to push out. That, everybody likes a skinny person. And to advocate for those who are, quote unquote, the skinny person, as in they have trouble gaining weight, they find it just as hard as you do. But it's more so, we go for something we think is going to be the quickest option to get us out of a miserable situation, which is usually how you can tell if your mental health's not 100%, because you're really desperate. You won't see it as something that takes its course. You're like, I need to do it now. I'm not happy with how I look. If I change how I look, I'll be happier. Clear sign that things aren't right elsewhere in the chain. But it's easy to put all your focus and energy into weight loss, because there's so much information on it. There's trainers ready available. You can go to a gym. You can start walking. You can, excuse me, you can half clean up your diet a little bit, and you'll get some results, and it's fine. But it may not ever be. And the trouble is, if you get to that point and it's like, well, what happens when you do lose your weight? What happens when you do reach that end goal? And if you don't feel any better, what do you do about it? So there has to be an understanding that, it's a means to an end. Like, yes, losing weight will help, but it's not going to cure the problem, because there's something further on up the chain going wrong. And sometimes you do have to have that hard conversation with yourself and go, I have to put my weight loss on hold, as long as it's not endangering your health dramatically, and work on the other things. It's not nice. It's not nice to think that, I should just be able to do this. Why is it so hard? Why can't I just not eat those things? Why can't I just be stronger than I am now? Well, if we could all just do things, then the world would probably be a much easier place. But as it goes, it's not. So you have to address further up the chain before you can make weight loss your number one priority. What I'll do is I will expand on these a little bit more with some help and notes later on down the line. Or more importantly, if you listen to this, you want to come and talk to me or message me, please do, because a lot of the time it's very personal and individualized how you're going to have to deal with this. So it usually requires more face-to-face contact, or at least a one-to-one conversation where we can take time to hash out those ideas. But yeah, so if you've listened to this and you go, sounds more like me, that I find it really hard to focus on the weight loss and, this should be easy and I'm finding it really difficult, check out the other parts of the hierarchy. Are you carrying any injuries? Is your physical health in good shape to allow you to do more than you want? Are your stress levels okay? If not, how would you then combat them? How would you deal with it? Maybe going to the gym is a way that you deal with your stress, but you don't put the pressure of weight loss on you right now. You just enjoy moving some more and getting your head clear. And then mental health. Are you in a good mental space? Is it something that you really should be focusing on as well as your physical health, because it's going to help as well? If you have any issues, if that's a lot to take on and you're not sure how to hash anything out, come and have a chat with me. Key point being, you don't have to articulate how you feel and make it make sense. Because when you do that, you're trying to dumb down your very high and complex emotions to somebody who wants to listen in the hope that they will understand. Sometimes it's better to just say what you feel and let somebody else try and make sense of it. Which is what I've done literally over the last few weeks with people. It's like, just say what you feel. Don't worry about whether it makes sense or not. Don't worry about how it makes you sound. It's more about, once it's out there, key things can pop up and we can figure that out, rather than you trying to make sense of it and tell me in the first sentence, well, this is exactly how I feel. Nobody expects you to know how to feel first time around. Probably nobody's ever asked you how you feel properly before. So there's lots of stuff running around in your head. We'll work on it and we'll go from there. So reach out if you need it. I am here, and let's get these podcasts back on track, and we'll get another one out to you as of next week as well. We're going to get them weekly again because it's been a little bit too much time off, and we'll go work on that. So peace and love to you all, guys. I hope everybody's well. Holidays are coming up, summer holidays, so strength to all you parents out there. We can get through this. We shall survive. Don't worry. But if you need anything, please give me a shout, and we will do our best to come to some sort of conclusion. So take care, guys. Much love. Speak soon.